What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It is Thursday, March 17th. We are live on YouTube, currently waiting, hoping, pleading with the universe and the football gods to give us a Deshaun Watson trade so we don't have to do an emergency podcast at midnight. If it happens during the show, of course, we'll just keep rolling. If you're listening on audio, well, give us a 5-star rating. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like button. Join me to break down free agency. Ryan Wilson, John Breech. What's up, boys?
I was just thinking, Breech, how many times do you think we've heard "Welcome to the Pixies Podcast" in that intro? I mean, you can do it in your sleep now. That's what I was thinking about as you were jabbering on about today's topics, which include where Deshaun Watson might end up. So, as Breech, as you noted, I'm out. He ain't going to the Browns. So we'll see what happens there, but there's some other stuff going on probably worth talking about too.
Absolutely. Well, I don't even get to say hi, Brinson. My God. You have to just cut right in. You said hi to both of us or just hi to Wilson? I don't know what's going on anymore. I would like to note that we're all wearing, I think, green. Good job. St. Patrick's Day, even though if you're listening on audio, it'll be March 18th.
I got green. I got my duck shirt back there. Does that count? I'm not wearing green right now.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is the people listening.
Podcast is green. What are we talking about?
People listening to this podcast on Friday, the audio version, the Deshaun Watson trade is going to be done. And they're like, what is going on? What were you guys waiting for?
That's why we're not going to linger on Deshaun Watson. If via Debo's very explicit, multiple instructions, written and audio to us, not to linger on it, John. So shut up. Just kidding. We got a bunch of news to get to. Of course, again, smash the like button if you're watching on YouTube. Leave a 5-star review if you want to ask us a question about any team this offseason. You can do so by leaving a 5-star review on Apple. By the way, we're like halfway through the first set of games here. I'm losing my bees off on these. I can't get a bet right. And to top it all off, it turns out that NC State back in July extended give Kevin Keats a 2-year extension because of NCAA sanction concerns. And they leaked it out to actually my buddy Joe Giglio got the 4-year request delivered during March Madness games, which is just, come on, what are we doing? I'm tilting.
Breech, can you think of anything more boring than the last 15 seconds we just heard about NC State?
I thought this was a free agency podcast. I don't know. Is NC State? What's going on, Brinson?
The madness is here. Don't miss a moment of the action on CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV. And download the March Madness Live app to watch every game, anywhere, anytime, live. Okay, so we got big quarterback news, big quarterback trade news with the Browns, as Wilson mentioned, out on Deshaun Watson. He eliminated them from this is, by the way, couldn't you work a little faster here, Deshaun? He eliminated one team, the Cleveland Browns, on Wednesday night, I believe. And so Thursday morning, it's like Browns are like, well, you know that we want an adult quarterback, and we were like thrashing Baker to unnamed sources for 24 to 48 hours and just really being jerks to our former.
No, they named the sources. It was Chris Mortensen who went on television and called them said they needed a man in a big boy.
He didn't say they need an adult quarterback. He said, I was told.
That's what I'm saying. He's right.
But I mean, like somebody with the Browns told him that.
No, that's right. Yes, that person.
It's not like Mort ripped him, and it's on Baker to, it's like Baker to defend himself from Mortensen. Like he was called that by
a coworker or an employer.
Yeah, I mean, presumably a high-ranking Browns source, and Cleveland was open to trading him when they thought they were in the Deshaun Watson running. And when they were ruled out, they decided, hey, you know what? We're not going to trade Baker.
But according to one of the reports, I can't remember because this stuff's flying fast and furious as we do this on the 17th, Baker was made aware that they were at the combine, that they were going to go after, or his agents were, they were going to go after potentially a high-level quarterback. So that wasn't news to Baker, according to the report from somebody somewhere. So that's not news, but that doesn't mean Baker has to be happy about it. And I fully understand why he would be. He doesn't seem upset, but it's like, it sounds like he wants to be traded because, well, he does want to be traded. That's the reports from everyone, including our Jonathan Jones and Jason Loncombe. And the best part about this, and this feels like such a Brownsian move, is that the Browns like, nah, we ain't going to listen to your trade request.
Right.
Which is insane.
So the Browns were going to trade Baker, and then 12 hours later decided they weren't going to trade Baker. and let all this stuff leak out publicly. And so Baker, I mean,
so it's basically this is, if I do the breaching analogy right, it's like you're saying, I'm going on spring break, so I may break up with you if I find a better girlfriend. You get back from spring break, we're not going to break up, but your girlfriend says, I want to break up with you. And you're like, wait, no, we can't break up. We're staying together no matter what. And then you just end up being a stalker.
Yeah, that checks out.
The Browns are the stalker in this situation.
Right. That's
right.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, so Baker through media members leaked out. I want to say his agent is Eric Burkhart too. I could be wrong on that though. Regardless.
Well, and actually Baker released a statement to ESPN, to Adam Schefter, and said, it's in the mutual interest of both sides for us to move on. The relationship is too far gone to mend. It's in the best interest of both sides to move on.
So, and like, I don't think he's necessarily wrong in that case.
He's not wrong. What's wrong with it? He's 100% right. Whether you like Baker or not, it's the Browns are Kathy Bates in misery right now. They have Baker tied to the bed and about to hit his ankles with a sledgehammer to keep him there.
And my fault. As Deepa points out, Eric Burkhart is not Baker's agent. I think it's actually Jack Mills. Okay, sure. Anyway, like, you know, Baker, it's not outrageous that Baker would be like, look, this is ridiculous. Like, I've been quiet and, you know, until you guys started exploring Deshaun Watson. And I mean, yeah, this relationship can probably be salvaged, but Baker's a pretty stubborn dude. I mean, I don't know.
And the one thing I will say is that I feel like Baker Mayfield is a polarizing figure in Cleveland. You have half of the Browns fans that want to see him replaced. Half of that fan base wants to keep him. But somehow the Browns have united all those fans against the Browns, because it really feels like Baker got some empathy this week, that the fact that, hey, the Browns went and met with Deshaun Watson. They sat down and said, hey, we're trying to replace you. And now that they can't replace him, Baker's like, well, I don't want to be here. And so you make Baker Mayfield come across as the good guy. And that's how, and then you're turning down his trade request, which is just bonkers. What are you going to do? You're going to make this guy come to training camp when he doesn't want to play with you? And I think one thing that could possibly fix this, if the Browns are in fact refusing to trade Baker Mayfield, you say, Baker, here's a 5-year contract extension worth $200 million. I think a $40 million year contract would, and no, I don't think the Browns should do that. But I'm saying that if you're stealing
tweets. Are you stealing Cynthia Freeland's idea?
No, this is literally in a story I just wrote if you had read it.
She's stealing your idea, Breech. She just tweeted that out.
How would I have read it? You published it at 4:01 when you showed up to the podcast late. Like, why would I have been reading the story?
I don't think this is going to fix the situation. I am just saying that, like, if you're the Browns and you are refusing to trade him, that seems like their only way out of it is to make a contract offer. And that doesn't mean Mayfield will accept it. You don't want to, and you'd be dumb. Like, that doesn't necessarily going to fix it, but that feels like the only way for Cleveland to get out of this unless they trade him.
But that's like the boyfriend buying his girlfriend who he tried to dump on spring break in the car. That's going to last 2 weeks, and then she's still going to hate you, and you're not going to be happy with her. It's not going to fix anything, except you're going to be throwing good money after bad. Because I think that Baker's that bridge, you know, if he's crossed that bridge, is not looking back, then I don't think any amount of money will make him moonwalk, you know, back across the bridge to the Cleveland side of things.
Right. And I don't disagree with that. I'm just saying that if you are the Browns who are saying we are refusing to trade Baker, well, you better placate Baker Mayfield somehow, because he's not happy with the situation as is. So you have to try and do something to fix it. And because this isn't going to work going forward the way it is.
Yeah. I mean, the extension thing is a crazy idea. I mean, it kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Oh, by the way, now I just read Cynthia's tweet. Shout out to Cynthia for we're on the same page.
I don't know if it makes sense.
Maybe I should get a podcast with her.
Yeah.
She's probably been on this podcast.
She probably would respect you more, for being honest. But I don't know if it makes sense for Baker or Cleveland.
What? More than who? Me?
Than either of us. We don't respect Breech.
And I'm not saying the same thing. She's saying maybe this is Baker's way of trying to get a contract. I'm saying this is the Browns. This would be the way they placate Baker.
So in other words, Cynthia is the smart one who's reading into the strategic thinking of Baker, and you're the panicky boyfriend who couldn't get.
I mean, that's what it sounds like. So we came to the conclusion from two opposite angles is what happened here.
No, you're the panicky boyfriend who couldn't get me on spring break and came back. You're like, hey, here's a diamond ring and some flowers, and let's get married. I love you.
She's like, whoa, hold up.
and the girl's like, what an idiot. This works every time.
But I don't think this is in the best interest of either side, because if the Browns clearly don't want Baker, giving him $50 million or whatever it is insane. And if Baker hates Cleveland and he's going to be the guy that we've seen over the last, some amalgamation of the guy we've seen over the last 3 years, Browns fans are going to hate him by week 2.
Yeah,
right. And so that's the point here, is that the trade is the best thing.
Yeah.
Conclusion to this.
I mean, like
that's clear.
If you're Baker, I mean, yeah, it would be great to get a huge extension, but do you really want to be in Cleveland with a bunch of money? I mean, I know you want the money, but like, do you really want to get that money in Cleveland at this point? Like, if you want to be traded, you got to get traded. You can't be.
You don't, because then if you do get a huge extension and the Browns and you struggle, the first time you struggle, everyone's getting booed out of town.
So we got some breaking news real quick.
All right, it better be good because I was about to say something awesome.
No, keep going. It was gonna be breaking news that was gonna break Devo's heart. You go ahead and keep going.
Okay.
Say that with Deshaun floating out there.
I know.
That was the bit.
God damn it!
Oh wow.
Brinson is forever over promising.
We have to dub Devo out of the audio.
This is a tough one. This is like one of Devo's favorite players ever. Is cut by the Eagles.
Oh, who got cut?
Fletcher
JJ?
Cox.
Oh, I think you said J-Jaw. Did Fletcher Cox get? They could have traded him to the Steelers during the season.
Designated a post June 1 cut at 4 p.m. $18 million would have become fully guaranteed. Cox is now a free agent. The team and his representatives continue to have discussions about a possible return.
He's coming to Pittsburgh.
Mike Garoppolo of.
I thought it was going to be J-Jaw, in which case Devo was doing the sarcastic GD.
J-Jaw could have been released like an hour ago and nobody would have tweeted about it. I mean,
so what I was going to say before you actually, that news was actually worth breaking in for. Devo's had a tough month. I mean, with the
Devo's 4-0 in his gambling picks.
Carson Wentz dressed up like Ronald McDonald at his introductory press conference with the Commandos.
Ryan, I was in a fairly serious meeting and I was scrolling through Slack and I saw you call him Ronald McDonald and I started like cracking up.
Yeah.
Like, Devo, care to explain? I was like, not really.
Awesome. My day is made. Good. What I was going to say though is Justine Anderson tweeted out earlier on Thursday that the Seahawks, she had been told, had discussed exploring acquiring Baker Mayfield. We talked about yesterday the Colts. I like them as a landing spot. I think both teams make sense. And it seems to me like a second round, I don't want to sound like a Breech and Gardner Minshew, but a second round pick seems like reasonable for Baker Mayfield, right?
Absolutely. A first round pick's too much. And a third round pick probably isn't enough. I mean,
yeah.
I think think about it like this. And I mean, I realize that Sam Darnold sucks. So I'm not trying to insinuate that Baker and Sam Darnold are the same, but Sam Darnold was traded to the Panthers with same draft class with 1 year left on his rookie deal and then his 5th year option, which they picked up stupidly, which he's going to play on in 2022. And so, I mean, I think, Baker's a much more valuable asset, but he only has 1 year left. He has his 5th year option to play out, and that's it. So you're trading for a quarterback who's going to be looking for a contract. He's getting paid $18 million a year. And
that's just like Sam Darnold, though.
Well, and the Seahawks are intriguing because they just picked up a couple extra draft picks from the Broncos.
Correct.
On that Russell Wilson trade. So they have an extra second round pick. They have the 40th overall pick and the 41st overall pick. And maybe you do that in a player or maybe just that to get Baker Mayfield. But, if you're the Browns, you feel like they'd probably want to get Baker Mayfield out of the AFC, but they probably don't care that much because if you're, they were ready to move on from him. So
you hate him. I mean,
right, exactly.
You might want him to go to the Colts.
But if you put him on a team like the Colts and they go out and win an AFC title, then Stefanski and the Browns just look silly.
Something else that's interesting.
So the Seahawks, by the way, have number 9 and number 40. Those are their first 2 picks of this draft both from Denver, by the way.
And then they had 41, I believe, right?
41, that was their own pick. 72, 109 from the Jets, 145 from the. They had 4 draft picks of their own before trade
away 2 of those Broncos picks, the 40th overall and the 145th overall. Boom, deal's done.
And I think that Josina also tweeted out. Yeah, she also tweeted this out. I'll just say this quickly. She spoke to Jameis, and Jameis said he would be interested in Indianapolis as well. Like he had conversations with both Indy and New Orleans. I don't hate Jameis in Indianapolis either.
No. It's Frank Reich and Jameis Winston. I mean, that's like oil and water.
So then that musical chairs, if Jameis Winston, we don't know what the other stuff, the other quarterback stuff, but if Jameis Winston ended up in Indy and Baker Mayfield in Seattle, does that leave Jimmy Garoppolo in Cleveland?
I hope so. I would love to see Jimmy Garoppolo in Cleveland.
Would you? Why?
You know why, Breech.
Would you get a Garoppolo Browns jersey?
No.
Because then you know that the Steelers would not finish last in the AFC North? Is that why?
I mean, I think part of the thought process with the Browns not being willing to trade Baker Mayfield is like, oh crap.
But wait, let's back up here. What are the odds that they refuse to trade Baker Mayfield by the time we get to July or whatever?
He's getting traded.
Right. That's
I think he's probably getting traded.
So I would put the odds at what? Minus 200 that he gets traded, maybe higher.
Yeah, I would say minus 250.
Yeah, that's
and the only reason it's that low is that the Browns quickly leaked out that they would not agree to trade him. But you sort of have to do that if you're the Browns, because if you don't make it sound like you like Baker, teams aren't going to give you a second round pick for him. Your best case scenario, you're going to end up with like a third round pick for him instead, and that's a bit of a problem. So, I mean, I think I would predict that Baker ends up in. So, I mean, again, we don't know. I'm not going to guess because I'll guess Seattle for Baker eventually.
I think I like Indy. I think I like Baker and Indy slightly more than Jameis, but I don't know. I didn't even consider Jameis.
I think Indy is very much in play for Baker, except for a possibility, unless they end up with somebody else.
That's typically how. Yes.
No, I mean, I'm trying to avoid the speculation, the rampant speculation.
That's all you do is speculate. So as we sit here, is Case Keenum the starter? He's 1 year left on his deal as well in Cleveland. I mean, is that the guy you're rolling with?
I do not think the Browns starter is on their roster right now.
I'd rather have Case Keenum.
I agree with
How much do you think Case Keenum is going to make this year in 2022 base salary?
Like $7.5 million.
You want to guess, Breech?
Case Keenum?
Yes.
$4 million.
8.4 million.
Oh my gosh.
He's making $1 million more than Mitch Trubisky. I'd rather have Case Keenum than Jimmy Garoppolo. Is that crazy?
And I don't know. Case Keenum knows the system better. He was with Stefanski in Minnesota.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that crazy.
Okay.
One thing that Brinson was saying about just Baker Mayfield kind of having the type of personality that's going to pull off something like this is, who's in the exact same situation? Matt Ryan. We don't see him tweeting out goodbyes to Atlanta and demanding trades. So it's like you see how to. Of course, I think the report was that the Falcons have
the Falcons
Ryan up to date,
handling it differently. I mean,
right. And
so it's also like the pursuit of the hypothetical pursuit of Deshaun Watson by Atlanta with Matt Ryan on the roster is also a lot different than the hypothetical or the pursuit of
Matt Ryan's on the tail end of his career, and Baker Mayfield, you have to decide if he's the quarterback of your future.
Matt Ryan played for 13, 14 years where he was the guy no one was questioning him. Baker Mayfield has been questioned from day one about whether he deserves to be the starter.
Yes,
I believe
correct.
if Baker Mayfield does not play for the Browns this year, he would just be the third player ever selected first overall and not make it to the fifth season with his team. Third quarterback ever to be selected number one overall and not make it to a fifth season with his team.
Who are the other two?
I think Jeff George and Jamarcus Russell. Yes.
Jeez.
Jeff
so
George
you're joining that list of. That's not a great list to be on. And
I would argue that Jamarcus, it was all his fault.
Up, and I found that stat is from Jake Trotter from ESPN.
I would say Baker's 50% responsible and the Browns are 50% responsible. Because, Jamarcus anywhere, even in New England, probably would have lasted for 2.5 years or whatever. Baker somewhere else probably would be a little more successful than he has been. It's just been a roller coaster ride of nonsense with that organization.
Yeah, and now you've just burned the bridge. How do you burn the bridge with your starting quarterback? What team does that?
The Browns.
The Browns, who have not had a quarterback in forever, finally get one, and boom, they torch it.
I mean, it's crazy.
The Bengals did that with Carson Palmer, right?
I mean, it wasn't like this.
And Carson Palmer was actually good.
Carson wanted out because he didn't feel like they were serious about winning. This is not because the Bengals are trying to replace him, like the Browns are doing.
Okay, fair enough.
And the Bengals paid Carson Palmer market price every time he got a new contract. So he was the highest paid player in the NFL at one point.
All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, we won't talk about the Bengals. We'll talk about A big move
But they
by the
signed
Los
Hayden
Angeles
Hurst.
Rams.
Hayden Hurst to the Bengals. That's a big move.
Okay, just let me get to the freaking break. Breach.
Shut up, Breech.
When we come back, we'll talk about some other high-profile free agency signings next. All right, so one deal that happened. It was a borderline emergency podcast. It would have probably been a force on Wednesday night. Von Miller, the former Denver Broncos All-Pro, who was traded to the Los Angeles Rams and made himself a ton of money in the playoffs with a great playoff performance. In fact, we know how much money, 6 years worth of it, $120 million over 6 years, 17.5 per year for the first 2 or 4 years, I think. And I think it was like 50 million guaranteed. So it sounds like it's kind of a fluffy contract, but he's going to the Buffalo Bills, who also signed OJ Howard.
So explain to me what's going on here. So here's what the Bills edge rushers look like. They just signed Shaq Lawson here on Thursday afternoon as well. Brought him back on a 1-year deal. So Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, and Boogie Basham both were first and second round picks last year. AJ Epinesa was a second round pick the year before that. And Shaq Lawson, I just mentioned. So they have 3 first rounders, 2 second rounders, all edge rushers. That's the sort of defensive line you put together if you're facing Josh Allen twice a year. I'm not sure what maybe they're thinking is this like a thing about the Chiefs? Because they're not worried about, I would imagine, about the Patriots or the Jets or the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah, no, this defense line would murder every single quarterback in that division. I think it is all about Sean McDermott having a nightmare every night about his team losing a lead in 13 seconds.
Okay, that's it.
And thinking, how do we keep that from happening again? We build the best defensive line in the AFC.
I didn't mention Ed Oliver, who plays on the inside, is also a first-round pick. These are all edge rushers.
I mean, I think they just saw how Von played down the stretch, because, I mean, his play had waned a little bit. And when he was in Denver going to the final year of his contract, the thought was generally that he would, get some money in free agency, but wouldn't get a ton. He joins the Rams in what week was it? I can't see what that graphic says, Debo. The logo's covering it up. Week 10 was first in the NFL in tackles for loss, third in pressures, and tied for 6th in sacks. Yes, he probably got more money than he necessarily, I don't want to say deserved. He probably got overpaid a little bit by the Bills. But I will say this too, and I wrote about this at some point after the Super Bowl. But Aaron Donald talked about this a lot. And the NFL and Jordan Rodriguez had written something about it, and that's where the original idea came from. Aaron Donald talked about how how Von Miller showed up and taught him how to be a Super Bowl caliber leader in the locker room. And not that Aaron Donald wasn't a leader before, but Von Miller was like, yo, man, you got to grab, you got to be vocal, take over. Don't try to just lead by example. Tell people, he just gave him a different attitude about it. And you heard there was in the game on the audio from the Super Bowl, there's a clip where Aaron Donald's like, this is from my legacy. Let's go out and stop him right now. And it's he said afterwards that owning that came from Von Miller. So I think not only are you adding a really good pass rusher, you're also adding maybe, I would guess that Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane believe that Von Miller is the type of guy who can come in and sort of help the Bills get to the next step, because they are, we all think that they're the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They are the favorite to win the Super Bowl, right? It's plus 7.5 to 1. And we all think they can win a Super Bowl, but they need to get, they just need to take that next step. And sometimes that next step is hard to take.
Who they lose to 2 years ago in the playoffs?
They lost to the Chiefs in the AFC title game in 2020. And they lost to the Texans in that game where they blew a 16-0 lead in the wild card round.
And then they lost to the Chiefs with 13 seconds.
That weird game where the Texans guy probably should have fumbled, or somebody fumbled in the end zone. They changed the rule.
The Texans game was where Josh Allen threw the ball behind his head, I believe.
Yeah, and I don't put too much on. I think Josh Allen's been fine in the playoffs. Been very good. That one game, the Texans game, first appearance,
very good. I mean, did you see the Chiefs game? He was amazing.
Yeah, so I'm saying, nobody. My point is, nobody thinks that the Bills are a bunch of chokers. It's
no, not at all. It's hard to win football games.
but they do need to take the next step. I mean,
well, I think if you look at their playoff losses, though, again, the last 2 years to the Chiefs, and McDermott's saying, we gave up 38 in the AFC title game. We gave up 42 in this divisional round this past season. And how do we slow that down? And what do? We beef up our front seven so that we can get after Patrick Mahomes so that he can't score 38 or 42 points against us.
No, by the way, they're getting Trey White back too after he tore his ACL. So that's
I mean, this team should be really, really good. No concerns about it at all. I just think, you're still on the cap hit will kick in next year with Josh Allen on his new extension. He's still in his rookie deal. Why not try to shove all in? So the Bills grabbed O.J. Howard and Von Miller. Devo, do you want to take a second and briefly lament the loss of Fletcher Cox, even though Adam Schefter and Mike Garafolo are both reporting that said loss may be temporary as the team is working to bring Fletcher Cox back on a renegotiated, like a smaller number?
That makes me incredibly happy. I get it. Financials come into play. I understand it from that perspective. But yeah, it would be a shame to lose someone that has been super important for a super long time. And I think is still a pretty high caliber player and one of the top defensive tackles in the league to this day, even into his 30s. So hopeful that his tenure continues and that he doesn't go to that organization across the state that is in our losers category coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's sort of like the Von Miller thing where, Fletcher, it's like, it makes total sense that Fletcher Cox comes back to the Eagles. But if he gets out there and somebody's like, holy crap, I can't believe he became a free agent. Like, let's give him a crazy offer, like Von Miller, like the Bills do.
Right. I don't think it's going to, it won't be that level, just the position. He was never as good as Von and not as good or close to his peak as Von is right now. But I think he has some value. No, no arguments from me. I think he'll absolutely have some value. So yeah, that would be a concern for me that someone else definitely snatches him up on a pretty reasonable deal for him.
I'm not saying that he's going to get 6 years, $120 million. I'm just saying that if Pittsburgh says, hey, look, dude, we'll give you like 4 years, $50 million.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say like 3 and like
3 and 40.
Yeah.
3 and 55.
50. Yeah,
that's 3 and 50. 3 and 50 is probably getting it done. He ain't coming back to. I mean,
no, that's peace, Philly.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's just this is a business decision. Like, no offense, Yeah, he's only 31 years old. So Von is like a lot older, right? Where's Von?
No, they were because Von was the 2011 draft.
Von's about to turn 33 in like 9 days. Okay. Fletcher doesn't turn 32 until mid-December. So he's, like 2 years younger, or a year and a half, maybe.
A wild deal for like that type of deal for a player Von's age and his position. It's just unmatched.
Well, and it does sound like it's like the numbers are a little puffed up and, but I mean, like that's what it was going to take to get him to not go back to the Rams, and 2, to stay in Buffalo for 3 or 4 years. I mean, that's, it's not exactly warm weather.
How dare you?
Allen Robinson. Well, you complain about shoving snow all the time.
No, I don't. We pay someone to do it.
Wow. Fancy.
What a ton of events here.
Yeah. Allen Robinson signed a deal with the Los Angeles Rams, which I think will make him like their number 4 wide receiver. Number 3? What'd you say?
I don't know. I got to look at the roster.
I mean, we don't have word on Odell yet.
Yeah, Odell hadn't been signed yet. The Allen Robinson contract.
So Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Van Johnson, Tutu Atwell didn't play a whole lot. Ben Skoranek is, number 5 at best. So I would put him at 2.5. Okay. I figure. I mean, Van Jefferson knows the defense.
3 years, $45 million deal with $30 million guaranteed. I mean, this is not a small contract. I mean, 15 million. He's not making as much as Christian Kirk, but he's making pretty good money.
I mean, and now the Rams are even better. Like, this is unbelievable that Matthew Stafford is going to have another year in this system. If you're a team, you're thinking, oh, we've got a triple team Cooper Kupp. And then, now you have Robert Woods and Allen Robinson to worry about. Like, this Rams offense is going to be
You think this is better than Odell Beckham when he was healthy? Because he was playing pretty well before Matthew Stafford tore his ACL.
Well, it's
why they could still re-sign Odell Beckham.
Maybe it sounds like they're going to try to still sign Odell Beckham.
Then in which case, yeah, I agree. Because I don't know if you're just taking one or the other, a healthy Odell in L.A. or Allen Robinson coming off Chicago. I think I'm taking Odell.
Well, I mean, Odell's not going to be able to play till like middle of November.
No. My point is that a healthy Odell on the last stretches in Los Angeles versus Allen Robinson, I'm taking Odell.
Yes,
I realize he's injured now, but
yeah, I mean, I think this is. I mean, they've got Cooper Kupp. I mean, isn't Robert Woods still on the team? Am I crazy?
Yeah, I just called him out. He's number 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think what they saw last year was that when they added Odell,
but Robert Woods is also coming back off a torn ACL.
Yeah. Paying Allen Robinson to bring him in, and buying low on Allen Robinson too, by the way, because this is a guy that, at one point in Jacksonville looked like he was going to be like the next great, NFL receiver. Matthew Stafford, easily the best quarterback he's played with since, as far as I know, high school. I don't even know who his quarterback was in high school, but certainly the best quarterback he's played with, dating back to his days at Penn State. And so, I mean, I think, it's a good fit. Like Robinson should go there and be pretty productive. He had a terrible year, 38 catches, 410 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown in 2021. It was clear that he wasn't happy that the Bears franchise tagged him and kept him there. And this is coming off a 102 catch, 1,250 yards, 6 touchdown season in 2020. With no, like, who's the quarterback in 2020? Was it Dalton and who was it? Oh, it was Trubisky, right?
Yeah, 2021 was Dalton and Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a great buy low by the Rams with the potential to just take that offense to another level, or to keep it at the level it was at, when Odell was there. And I think too, the Rams probably look at the Super Bowl and how it looked like they were going to smoke the Bengals at first. Then Odell gets hurt, and then the offense really stagnated. And if they know Woods is coming off the ACL and Odell's not going to be back in time, you do want to have that true, number 2 receiver, and Robinson can absolutely be that.
Yeah, of course.
That's what they need. And it is insurance in case Robert Woods doesn't look as good coming off a torn ACL. And obviously, if you re-sign Odell coming off a torn ACL, you at least know you have a number 2 receiver if any of those guys have any type of setback.
For sure. There's some other piece of news that we needed to get to that I'm forgetting about.
Was it Hayden Hurst to the Bengals?
We could do Zadarius Smith when we talk about the loser section, or we could talk about him here.
Okay, no, we talk winners, losers. All right, let's talk winners and losers. Or let's just take a break first. No,
just take a break.
Okay.
Gosh, I feel like Napoleon Dynamite. Go.
I'm already so annoyed about this, Sean. Just make up your mind, man. Sean.
Oh, you're annoyed. I thought you said Marty. It's like, who's Marty?
Yeah.
How do you think the teams feel? How do you think Baker Mayfield feels?
So we're looking at full sort of scope of free agency so far, the week, the early action, early winners, Wilson. Give me one.
Despite the naysayers, Debo, the Steelers are huge winners. Number 1, they signed Mitch Trubisky, Breech. And by the way, he made it clear in his introductory press conference that you can call him Mitch or Mitchell. You got to appreciate someone who doesn't care what you call them. So they got Trubisky. I love that. There are a few Steelers, the Pittsburgh radio guys that hate him. And I like the radio guys, but let's be real. What else are you going to get? And Breech, as you noted, if you want to call someone a loser, Mason Rudolph's girlfriend, they broke up. So that's a problem. But they also signed James Daniels, a guard from the Bears, who's pretty good. Levi Wallace, cornerback for the Bills. They need help there. Miles Jack, linebacker for the Jaguars. And they released some guys, including Joe Schobert, who they traded for last year, to free some cap space, so they can still make some moves, which I hope includes getting Fletcher Cox just to spite Debo. I hope they get Fletcher Cox and they cut him.
Actually, you know who just tweeted? You know who's recruiting Fletcher Cox?
Who?
Zach Ertz, former Eagle, recruiting. Said, come on up to the desert, big dog, at FCox _91. And the comments were hilarious. It's just a bunch of like Debos who are like, no, stay back, leave him alone. No, stop it, Zach. He's staying. Sad face.
But I think the Steelers are better today than they were a week ago, Breech. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Steelers, I mean, I'm not sure were they listed on the winners, losers in our rundown or winners? No, yeah, I thought they had a good free agency. And I think that I don't think they're going to win the division, but they are definitely better than they were a week ago, like you just said. So I would say I thought the Miles Jack signing was smart. I think that Mitchell Trubisky is good enough to make them competitive. And, I think they could win more games than they did last year. And they won 9 games.
He gets them to 9 games. And then after that, it's just luck. So hopefully you luck into a 1 or 2 more
and
wins.
James Daniels, that's the signing we talked about yesterday. That's huge on that offensive line. So does that mean I go to my winner?
You can if you like.
I didn't list on the rundown. Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
My winner so far, you know what? I'm going to give some love to the Miami Dolphins. What do you guys think about that?
Okay, go
All
ahead.
Right, go ahead, Brinson. I mean, what are we doing? You ever done a podcast before, Breech?
I like what they have done so far. Not just obviously running back has been a huge problem for them. And so they went out and got 2 good running backs that I think Matt McDaniel will be able to take advantage of. You have Connor Williams, adding him on the offensive line. Teddy Bridgewater, look, some people probably looked at that and said, meh. But if Tua doesn't work out, or
Tua said that, by the way.
If Tua just needs a veteran presence in the locker room, the thing is you need a good backup with Tua there, and Teddy Bridgewater is that. And so, I actually like what everybody in the AFC East has done except for the Patriots, to be honest.
Yeah, they've done nothing. Apparently they were interested in Leo Collins, who was released, so now they have to pay for him because they didn't trade for him. And they were also interested in Allen Robinson, but didn't have the money to pay him what he wanted to be paid, according to reports.
I'm gonna hop in. I got some good feedback on this the other day, like correcting you guys when you say the wrong names. So I'm just gonna make this a bit. But Mike McDaniel and Van Jefferson over the past 10 minutes for you people listening that are screaming at your podcast as Brinson leaves because he's so pissed off. Just a note there.
Oh, what were the names? What'd you say? Mike McDaniel.
You said Van Johnson 15 minutes ago, which I let go, and then Breech called him Matt McDaniel. So I'm just hopping in here.
Who is Van Johnson?
You know what my problem is that I went to high school with a kid named Matt McDaniel, and so that's just locked up. This is the worst case scenario. It's not about not knowing Matt or Mike. It's that name's already.
You know what? Just say just admit you were wrong.
Is Matt McDaniel also not plural S?
There's no S. I know that.
Interesting.
Wait, what did I just gloss over letting you guys say that? I'm sorry, that's my fault.
Yeah, you're supposed to be here being a fact checker.
We're not blaming me because you guys don't know the names.
By the way, I was just texting with one of my friends who's a Browns fan, and we were talking about Jimmy G or Matt Ryan, and he said it's like deciding between which STD you want. That's where he's at in the quarterback conversation for the Browns.
Tough scene.
Fair enough. I think I want the STD name Matt Ryan over Jimmy G. That's just me. All right, yeah. So Van Jefferson, I got that wrong again. I'm 0 for 2 in the last 2 days.
It's a tough scene.
All right, Brinson, you're up.
Patrick Seeley in this says, do you guys realize the Pats won't comp picks again next year? All these teams getting free agents won't get comp picks. You never mention that point. That's not necessarily true. It depends on who you lose. There's a formula. I mean, I understand, it's mostly correct, but there's a formula based on, who you bring in versus who you let go and what said, what the people you let go get paid on the market. And it depends on who, when you release them or if they're a free agent. Like if you release somebody, they're not necessarily factored into the comp formula, the comp pick formula. The Patriots and the Ravens are what was that face Breech?
You know how many comp picks the Patriots got yesterday? 0.
Yeah, because they spent like crazy in free agency.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, you're about to say the Patriots and the Ravens are usually teams that
I say traditionally.
They didn't. They didn't.
I think Breech just made a layup on you.
I mean, I was about to make the point before he interrupted me with a rude face.
Yeah, well, just saying.
You got interrupted by a rude face. Think about that. The man
Breech was like.
The man who makes his living interrupting people is mad by a rude face.
I mean, I looked over.
I made the face that you think Baker Mayfield made at the Browns.
Yeah. You made it was like a. You were trying to decide if you farted or like pooped your pants a little bit. Like that was the face. You like. That smells. What is that?
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
it's not a little too close to home there.
No, I mean it's anyway. My point being is that the Patriots. I mean, have the Patriots hemorrhaged a bunch of free agents that have been signed by other teams that I'm missing?
Ted Karras.
I mean, I don't think the Patriots are exactly racking up comp.
They traded Shaq Mason. That could bring them a comp pick, but no, they traded him, so it's not a comp pick.
Yeah, there's no comp pick. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, Ted Karras got signed, but am I missing anybody?
No, they haven't done a whole bunch.
Yeah,
because they cut Van Noy, so that's not going to help them in the compensation formula.
yeah, I don't think they're getting a whole lot of comp picks.
So yeah, let's see. They got Mac Wilson in a trade, but they sent what's his name? The
Chase Winovich left in a trade. So yeah, they're not like racking up the comp picks this year.
And that's the only new name.
The only big one. No, the only big one is J.C. Jackson. But how much is that going to get you?
Third round.
Yeah, they'll get one.
Oh yeah, J.C. Jackson. Duh, that's the biggest one.
Right. So you're looking at like maybe one, a third rounder.
Just in terms of them being a better football team.
They'll get a third rounder for J.C. Jackson if they don't, assuming that they don't sign anybody big, which it doesn't look like they'll do.
But
sorry, completely spaced on J.C.
So
Jackson.
They're throwing away the 2022 season so they can get 2 comp picks next year.
Yeah. Once again, Brinson getting dunked on.
I didn't suggest that they were getting a bunch of comp picks
because Breech saved you with that ugly face he made at you. Kept you from talking.
God almighty, you guys are all.
You should thank him.
I'm going to say my winner is the Buffalo Bills. They landed Von Miller, Roger Saffold, nice offensive line addition, and OJ Howard, who I think is a really great like post-hype secondary contract signing. Like,
why?
Well, he's a good blocker. And
okay.
He's a really good blocker. He will.
I don't hate the pick, but I think that
he doesn't need to be their number one tight end.
We've all been waiting for OJ to break out, and he's never broken out. Maybe that's his role now. Maybe his role now is Mercedes Lewis,
or maybe he finally breaks out in a post-hype world. Like I don't hate it.
Yeah, I don't know, but there's nothing wrong with being Mercedes Lewis. Both former first round
picks. I will
be
dunking all over your face when OJ Howard has a big season next year.
All right, well, I look forward to that.
And I do think that the Bills, with the way that their roster is set up, you mentioned getting Tre'Davious White back. You add Von Miller to that defense. Like, I think they're deservedly favored to win the Super Bowl ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they got to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs first, but I have no problem with them being the favorite, given how difficult that the division is for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like the Bills have a much easier path to getting the number 1 overall seed, and you get the bye then.
Much easier
than the Chiefs? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, wouldn't you rather play the Patriots, Jets, and Dolphins versus the Broncos, Raiders, and Chargers?
Broncos will win in 3 games next year. I'm calling it right now.
What? Is that because it's Russell Wilson's number?
I mean, let's throw the Broncos in as a winner, too.
No, Wilson just said they only win 3 games. How could they be a winner?
Are the Broncos a winner or loser in the first week of free agency, Wilson?
Oh, they're 100% a winner. I'm just joking. I mean,
they haven't had a franchise quarterback since Peyton Manning retired in 2015.
I mean, it goes back. Like I know Russ is like a weird robot guy, and he says some things that don't make sense and all. But I'll just go back to what Brady Quinn said at the combine, because we just talked to Desmond Ridder, the quarterback out of Cincinnati, who was like he's the type of guy you want to run through a wall for. And I said to Brady, does that matter? Like in the locker room, if you have a great leader that's not very good? He goes, dude, it doesn't matter what kind of leader you are if you can't complete a pass. He said people will play for the weirdest dude on planet Earth, and that just reminds me of Russ Wilson. Like people will play for Russ Wilson if he's doing what he always does. So yeah, that's a huge one for Denver.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like you didn't hear anything about Russ being a weirdo and all of that until they started struggling.
Right. And then when Richard Sherman made some comments. There was something going on where
Sherman had ripped Russ plenty before, but like you didn't hear a ton about it until Russ actually until Russ actually struggled and they came back too quick with the hand thing and all that. Then it started coming out very quickly that Russ was a weirdo and people found him to be quite bizarre. But I think the Broncos, they also
they're huge winners, of course.
Yeah, I mean they lost Drew Lock, Noah Fant, Shelby Harris. In that trade, of course, and Teddy Bridgewater signed with Miami, but they brought in Randy Gregory. They stole him from Dallas, and they also brought in DJ Jones.
Yeah, I like DJ Jones a lot.
So that's a good job. Okay, Let's take another break. When we come back, who are the losers in NFL free agency? We'll tell you next. So give me a actually, you know what? The madness is upon us in the Eye on College Basketball Podcast is your audio guide for the entire NCAA tournament and everything you need to know about your brackets. Over the next few weeks, Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander will provide recaps after each day of tournament action and preview upcoming rounds. If you want the best March Madness analysis, follow and listen to the Eye on College Basketball Podcast anywhere you find this show. All right, give me a loser, Wilson.
The Durless Cowboys.
Good one.
Leo Collins, who just had to release. I don't know why they didn't trade him. I'll be interested to hear what came about there, because I would imagine they could have traded him, because I know the Patriots were interested. Of course, you just mentioned the Randy Gregory situation where the language that they had snuck it. I don't know if they snuck it into the contract. Apparently, it's in everyone's contract in Dallas except Dak Prescott's. And I think other teams don't have that same language. It's about guaranteed money in terms of off-field incidents or whatever. And Randy Gregory chose not to sign it, and he signed what was close to the very same deal without that contract language in Denver. And I don't know, like, did Randy Gregory go from a good situation to a better situation, or is it about even, or the Cowboys a better chance to go further in the playoffs because they're where they sit?
I think in terms of possible success, it's probably a better situation. In terms of legalized marijuana, certainly a better situation.
Well, yeah.
In terms of
Super Bowl possibilities here.
I think Dallas has got a better chance to make a deep run in the playoffs.
But if you don't like playing for your employer, maybe it makes more sense to go somewhere where you feel wanted. So, and that brings us to DeMarcus Lawrence, who said on the All Things Covered podcast that he was insulted basically by the first offer he got from the Cowboys.
1 year, $10 million, slap in the face.
Andy Dalton money, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
They re-upped Michael Gallup, 5 years, $62 million, who was coming off the ACL. Cut Blake Jarwin. Did they cut the kicker too? They cut someone else. I can't remember who it was, but they franchised Dalton Schultz. That's good for Dak Prescott. But I don't think this team is better now than it was when they ran that draw play on with 18 seconds to go or whatever and lost in the playoffs.
They released Greg Zuerlein.
It was the kicker. Okay, thank you. Along with Blake Jarwin. So yeah, I think the Cowboys. Again, we're only not even a week into free agency, so things could obviously change. There's a draft and so on and so forth. But as we sit here and as we like to overanalyze these things, they have not made themselves a better football team.
Yeah, and I think you could argue that, even though you keep Dalton Schultz and you sign Michael Gallup, which I think is a nice signing. I mean, Amari Cooper is a really good 1A, 1B with CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup might be that. But he hasn't, he hadn't produced at the level that Amari Cooper has. So,
and he has to recover from the ACL. I don't know when he's going to be back. I don't know if he'll be back in time for the start of the season, but that's something else to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think the offense took a step back, and I think the defense probably took a step back in free agency.
So
you lose Lyle Collins. This is,
How many games do they have to win for Mike McCarthy to keep his job?
5. I don't know.
Are you serious?
I'm kidding.
8.
Yeah, 8.
Just 8? They can go
9.
8 and 9?
9 and 8. I think if they have a losing season, he might get fired. If Sean Payton's interested and Mike McCarthy has a losing season without any major injuries,
then Mike McCarthy better win 17 games. He better go 17-0. And he's
if you win the division, they're not going to fire him.
If Sean Payton wants that job, they will 100% fire him. They could go 17-0 and win the Super Bowl. And if Sean Payton says, "Hey Jerry, I would love this job," guess who's getting fired?
That's fair. I'll give out a loser, unless you want to go Breech.
What if we have the same loser?
Guessing we do.
No, I bet we don't.
What is yours? What letter does your team start with?
I had 2 teams just in case. One of them starts with a B.
Okay,
the Bengals? What's the other team?
Do the not Bears.
What? I can't do the Bears. You know what? Fine. I'm going to say we just talked about them and all with our comp pick conversation. I'm going to say the Patriots are a loser right now. Maybe they have bigger plans. And it's going to come back and bite me in the face for calling the Patriots losers. But you look at what they've done. Kyle Van Noy's gone. Ted Karras is gone. J.C. Jackson is gone. They still need to fortify, I think, the right side of their offensive line. They traded away Chase Winovich. There's just all these things. They got rid of Shaq Mason. They let Tom Brady talk them into giving up Shaq Mason. How did that happen? It doesn't make any sense. And then not only have they gotten worse, but every other team in the division has gotten better. Even the New York freaking Jets have done a good job in free agency. I mentioned the Dolphins as my winner. Brinson, you mentioned the Bills as your winner. So it's just, even if you think the Patriots have made lateral moves and they haven't improved or gotten worse, the other teams have done better than them over the past week. So the Patriots are my loser.
2 words. Mac Jones. Suck at nerds.
Yeah, I don't think it's crazy at all to suggest the Patriots are losers, just because, we do think that like the Jets have gotten better, right?
Yeah, I mean they
have, but we'll
Blake
see.
and Tomlinson was a good signing. We talked about them adding the 2 defensive backs yesterday, Jordan Whitehead and DJ Reed, and I think they just added Jacob Martin today. I mean, they've had a pretty solid class so far.
Yeah, like
and
I don't think
they're not blowing money.
I don't think the Jets are gonna like finish higher than the Patriots, but I think they've had a good offseason or a good free agency so far. And then the Dolphins are definitely improved just by getting Mike McDaniel. I mean, not that Brian Flores is bad, but I think the Dolphins offense should be much better. They also added Raheem Mostert, by the way. So Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, pretty nice little combo there.
And Mostert reuniting with McDaniel. I mean, that's a big thing.
Matt or Mike?
Mike.
By the way, we didn't mention this at the time, but I'll just say it quickly. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported earlier on Thursday afternoon that Baker Mayfield has strong interest in the Colts.
Yeah, as he should. He would thrive. Like what Baker does well fits with what Frank Reich wants you to do in a system. And I would.
Do you think that Baker's better than Carson Wentz in that system? Is that what
downgrade?
So, easily an upgrade. Easily an upgrade.
So you think the Browns?
You know how bad Baker was last year?
He had one shoulder, Devo.
I would take a healthy Baker.
Carson Wentz had 0 ankles in COVID. I'm yelling in the office again. God.
This is hilarious.
By the way, no one in human history has ever turned both their ankles at the same time except Carson Wentz.
This tweet that Breech should put in Slack from Jeremy Igo at Carolina Huddle. Carolina Panthers have requested the Sam Darnold requested trade. That is awesome. Will McClain in the chat says that David Tepper is a loser. I can get down with that idea, but need to see how the Deshaun stuff plays.
Yeah, we need to redo our winners and losers after we get winning that trade.
Right. Like it's
once again, this whole entire podcast was done before he is traded, so we have no idea how that's all going to play out.
Yeah.
And that's why we had not mentioned it.
Correct. And so, yeah, I mean, like that is going to be a big factor in who's a winner and who's a loser, right? You know what I mean? Because anyway, we've done a good job of it. Let's not ruin it.
We have another podcast tomorrow, Brinson.
Yeah.
We should go back and listen.
I don't know if you know, but it's daily.
Do you guys remember? I'm just thinking about this Sam Darnold stuff that Breech put into Slack. What were your thoughts when Sam Darnold was traded to Carolina? Because I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong because my memory's terrible. I'm pretty sure I
talked myself into it for sure.
I think I was like down on it, but Debo would know better than me. Breech, you probably were trying to be optimistic as well.
I don't think I was that optimistic. I mean, I didn't think they were going to compete for the playoffs or anything. So
yeah, I think
I didn't think they were going to be like a playoff contender. I thought they could win like.
But you talked yourself into him being like in a bad situation in New York with Adam Gase, and this maybe works itself out with Joe Brady.
Yeah, I mean, not like a difficult spot to get to either, you know.
Person McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson. Here's the thing. So here's the lesson. Joe Brady got fired in the middle of the season. Sam Darnold sucked, as it turned out. And all the things we're talking about now will probably end up blowing up in our face in 10, 11, 12 months.
Correct. Except I think that if you put Baker in Indianapolis, it's a much more stable situation than what Carolina had.
You're saying, here's what you're saying. I know I get hit by the bus when I step in the middle of the street, but this time when I step in the middle of the street, here's what's going to happen. The bus is going to swerve and not flatten me like a pancake.
It's like it's the old Arrested Development, you know, when there's Tobias and Lindsay are sitting on the bed and he's like, you know, he's like, I've had in my counseling days, I had clients who would try open relationships. And she's like, well, did it work for those people? He's like, no, it never does. I mean, those people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
Exactly.
Like, no, does it buying low on this young quarterback who struggled in his first spot ever work? Hell no, it never works. But it might work for Baker and Indy.
But Carson Wentz wore a yellow sport jacket to his introductory press conference, and maybe this
By the way, not a single. Oh my God, Debo.
here we go,
Deal.
If you're listening on the audio podcast, you have to go watch the YouTube because Debo just put up a comparison of Baker versus Carson Wentz. As I said,
and by the way, this is Baker with a torn labrum versus Carson Wentz.
Zero ankles.
Playing with a much more talented roster.
Yeah, much more talented.
Okay, maybe not much more.
We had COVID.
Oh my God!
You sound like a famous DMer.
Oh, blame it on the. I'll stop talking.
So imagine where Debo is in this journey, that he is all Carson Wentz all the time. Like this is his hill to die on.
Debo, serious question: does Carson Wentz pay you? Like, are you on his payroll?
No, but
are you wearing a yellow sports jacket right now? That's a yes.
Are you wearing a yellow starter jacket with an L on it?
Oh, too soon.
Yeah, everyone in the chat agrees with Baker Mayfield. I think statistically speaking, and from like a value perspective, you would definitely say that Carson Wentz had a better 2021 season than Baker Mayfield. Having said that, I think that Baker Mayfield on the Colts in 2022 is an upgrade over Carson Wentz on the Colts in 2021.
I don't know if we said this yesterday, but let's go through it quickly again. Would you rather have Baker, Matt Ryan, or Jameis on the Colts in 2022?
Matt Ryan.
Breech?
Matt Ryan.
For the long haul,
Oh, just next year.
For the long haul, I'm probably taking Baker, but for just next year, for just next year,
they're all three actually pretty close for me. I think they're all three would be good in different ways. All three, would you agree, are upgrades over Carson or not? I'm not even kidding. I'm serious.
What was it? Matt Ryan, Jameis Winston, and Jimmy?
No, get out of here with Jimmy. Matt Ryan, Baker Mayfield, and Jameis.
Wait, so you think Carson Wentz is better than Jimmy?
No, I would take all three of those. Jameis is close, but I'd probably take
Jameis off an AC. Carson's really bad.
I would take Carson over Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh yeah. By the way, while we're doing losers, I would say that I was going to say the Bears, and we can talk about the Bears in a second. But while we're talking about Carson Wentz, I think the Washington football team Commandos are massive losers for this offseason.
Commandos, because they changed their name to the Commandos.
I mean, one, they changed their name to the Commanders, and I hope people don't think I'm being serious when I miss saying their name.
I'm fine with calling the Commandos.
Yeah.
I think it's hilarious.
There's a thing where they're not going to wear underwear next year. They're going to wear like just the football pants and no underwear underneath it.
So they traded for Carson Wentz, the latest team to fall prey to that scam.
But it's one thing if you trade a 6th-round pick for him. They traded, what did they trade, 2 second-rounds or something? What was the draft haul? It was a lot.
2nd-round pick, 47th overall. Oh, no, excuse me. They swapped 2nd-round picks. Right. So, they swapped 2nd-round picks, so Indy moved up 5 spots, and then 2 3rd-round picks.
Okay.
And one of them can become a 2nd if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps, which, by the way, I was thinking about the other day. If Carson Wentz gets to 69% of the snaps on the season, or is like tracking for 70%,
yeah,
and you're like 3-8.
Oh, no, he's not gonna play.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
I mean, that's what we were saying with the Colts last year. Yeah,
last year, like
all they were in trouble, and then they got hot against a fraudulent, like a fraudulent Colts team got hot against an easy schedule.
Right, yeah, that is. There was ever a point where the Colts. I don't know. Maybe if they got to, they started 0-3. If they got to a point where they were 1-8, maybe they start to. But I don't think it was ever a consideration for them. Like if you're,
they were 3-5.
It's going to be hard. And I go back again. I think it's going to be the case next year in the NFC East. It's going to be hard to be that far out of it if you're the Commandos.
That's probably fair.
Are we just going to call them the Commandos? Is that our new thing?
What are they? They're the Commanders.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to call them the Commandos.
That'll be the thing on this podcast.
This is an absolute slight to the Commandos.
And we will see how many people tweet, email, and tell us that it is actually the Commanders.
I don't think we'll get too much pushback on it. I think people know it's a bit. Yes, I mean, but I think Washington, they lose Brandon Scherf. They just cut Landon Collins. They lose Matt Ioannidis. And they got Andrew Norwell to replace Scherf. But I mean, I think, obviously, you got to be healthy, but I'm taking Scherf over Norwell for sure. Although I will point out that Norwell played for Ron Rivera in Carolina, so there's some familiar.
And I will point out that Andrew Norwell is from Cincinnati. Went to high school there. So obviously he's good.
I just think there's a chance this is the worst team in this division because Carson Wentz sucks. That's not like me picking the Debo. I mean, I just think, like the Giants have gotten better, I think, this offseason. Philly is still a good team, even if Fletcher Cox.
You think the Giants will win more games than Washington?
I think it's possible, yes.
I think that's very, very realistic.
Like Washington finishing dead last is not out of in the division is not out of the question at all.
Well, they're probably like, if you're making odds to finish dead last, they're probably like plus 150.
Yeah, like what are the? I'm gonna look real quick with the NFC East. Do they even have? They have NFC East odds up.
Is Daniel Jones better than Carson Wentz?
Who's the coach?
Freddie Kitchens. It doesn't matter.
All right, so the Cowboys minus 140 to win that division might be a bet.
Yeah.
Even if they've had even with the offseason losses.
Keep going.
Eagles plus 340.
That feels like a great bet.
Yep. Washington plus 475 and the
That's
Giants
terrible.
Giants 9-1.
Giants are a good bet. The Eagles are a good bet. The football team's a terrible bet.
And the thing is, you look at those odds, and we haven't had a repeat champion in 18 years. So
Right?
in the NFC East,
18 years?
yeah, I think 2003, 2004 Eagles were the last ones to repeat.
Wow.
So you're talking about,
You didn't know that, Brinson? Everybody knew that.
well, it's just you're talking about a thing where it's been unlikely. So if you just bet the other three teams, if you bet against the Cowboys and take the field,
Yeah, I love the Eagles and I like the Giants. I don't
You
like
wouldn't like-
Washington at all. Like, how's Washington going to win that division?
I was just saying that I think there's a good chance they finish dead last.
Carson Wentz gets in a time machine. Looks like 2017 Carson Wentz. So was that your loser, Brinson?
Yeah, but I think we should talk about the Bears too because we were going to mention them as a possible loser.
Wait, who did Breech mention as his losers? Oh, the Patriots.
Patriots.
Okay.
Bengals.
Gotcha. Right, the Bengals and the Patriots.
So the Bears, who you guys were like propping up as this like playoff contender,
I mentioned them as losers in when Debo asked for our losers.
well, they added Lucas Patrick on a 2-year $8 million deal and Larry Ogunjobi on a 3-year $40.5 million deal, which feels really, really steep for Larry Ogunjobi. But they needed someone on the defensive line because they lost Khalil Mack, who was traded to the Chargers, Eddie Goldman, and Bilal Nichols, who signed with the Raiders. And I think
They also released Tariq Cohen
And Akeem Hicks.
Akeem Hicks, yeah. I was going to say, I thought
and Danny Trevathan.
And lost Jakeem Grant.
did they release?
And trade away Khalil Mack.
Yeah, I mentioned that. Did they
was
did they
repeating that
release? No, Akeem Hicks was just a free agent. Did I miss him signing with?
No, I don't think he signed yet.
Right, but these are players that they had last year they will not have back.
Yeah, I mean, like they're hemorrhaging players, and it looks like this is a potential spot for a rebuild, as I've been saying for several days now.
You said that about Khalil Mack. And that's before all this other stuff happened. Doesn't make you right because you fell ass backwards into it.
By the way, did you see the Matthew Stafford commercial?
No one cares.
I did because you tweeted it out and said it was
really-
amazing.
It's really good.
Brenton, if you tweet out videos, I watch them. Just so you know.
It's a Matthew Stafford AT&T commercial. Go check it out on my Twitter feed. He goes into the
I
store.
blocked you, so I'm not unblocking it to watch it.
He goes in
It
the store.
involves
and he's like-
Lily from AT&T for all you AT&T commercial buffs.
Yeah. He goes in the store and he's like, she's like, yeah, we're doing a trade-in. Doesn't matter. You can bring in any phone, any Galaxy phone, no matter how old, in any condition, and we will give you a new phone. He's like, so you mean even if I had my phone for 12 years and I want a new phone, I can just swap it out? And she's like, yep. It's like a whole bit. You should go check it out. It's pretty funny.
Brenton's doing a read over for a company that doesn't sponsor us.
Did
Can't
at
believe this,
any
Wilson.
point in that commercial did Matthew Stafford find $20?
Just go watch the commercial. It's funny. Like, you know what's going to happen in like 24 hours? Wilson's finally going to see the commercial and be like, have you guys seen the Stafford commercial? It's hilarious.
Or he'll be like, you were right, Brenton. It was good.
No.
not.
What Brinson said. I will never admit to Brinson being right.
Yeah,
Let's
he'll
be
act like
honest.
he discovered it.
Yes, that's right.
Or he'll give me credit and I'll just nod my head. Breech,
Yeah.
you were so right about that Stafford commercial.
As you are wont to do.
Okay. I guess that's it, right? Any other losers or
I don't think so.
us for podcasting at 2 a.m. tonight.
Ugh.
To talk
I know.
about Sean.
I'm supposed to go and watch college basketball with some friends and
Who are you gonna go see it with?
my buddy Nathan.
Did Nathan used to?
Isn't it weird how he likes to name drop in private, but he won't name drop publicly? That's what he was built for.
I don't know who's gonna be all over there, but
You guys got Nathan or Geno Smith?
Gino.
If we're
all
still
day.
listing winners and losers, my loser is Nathan for inviting Brinson over.
Yeah, 100%.
I'll give you that one. All right.
Winners is Chris Allen for giving me some New Belgium beer.
Yeah, Chris Allen is getting blistered by Wilson 3 days ago. Now he just won't shut up about how great he is.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did. Went above and beyond. I really appreciate it.
Well, he didn't like you. Didn't like you bad. He's a podcast listener, so
He didn't realize I grew up so close to his hometown or where he lives now. I'm not sure where he's from.
there you go. All right, that's it for the podcast. We will be back when Deshaun Watson signs, whenever that may be.
When he gets traded.
I'm going to add this real quick, Brinson. Hopefully this doesn't bite us, but they're up big right now. So
Go Tar Heels.
Heyo. That's a great way to end it.
That's a good. All right, for Fletcher Cox, for Carson Wentz, I'm Brinson. We'll see you guys later.